Alright, the 10th commandment. The 10th commandment obliges a man put in Teflon to attain the supernal properties written with the Creator created man in his own image. He opened and said, "Your head is open like Carmel." This is the text refers to the supernal head of the Teflon worn on the head of holy supernal king, God's name, written in separate letters. Each letter in the holy name of the God in God's name corresponds with a certain paragraph of Teflon. Thus, the holy name, supernal name, is written with the scrolls of Teflon. And the secrets of letters, the name of the Creator is upon you, that you should be afraid of you, and refers to the head of Teflon, which contains the name of the name of God. Being merciful to the poor only merits the beginning to receive the Creator's supernal image. Beyond, observe the properties of man described by the verse. Let us create the man in our image after our likeness. By unifying beyond properties of those of man, the letters of God fell to heaven and fell to God, and only the who remained in mother of the Sephiroth series of beyond from that of God consists of father and mother, assuming the properties of the heaven, and then mother assumes the properties of the female. Since looks descend from the place of the heaven, they become the heaven, and from the heaven they receive the state of the cat's eyes, called Tetsium, or greater godness, like of the body of the mother, and the garden of Eden state of her own state. And since the Alpha fell between God and she wrote light of God, Garden of Eden. To see the diagram below. Yet our question arises: we have already learned with the great the parts of lower man of heaven. The heaven is most ascend with the light, with receive the light of the Genesis Sephiroth. The small spiritual object with the light of wisdom can not be begotten. So why is it said that the mother in the state of small size? When God attained reception of the light of these, seeing that there is the ascent of the light, become the ascending of it in their properties for the lower one ascends to the upper, becoming like it. Indeed, there the magnitude of the screen distinguishes between spiritual objects, as only the magnitude of the screen determines the object's properties. Thus, we open and send in clothing of the scene for the God in heaven by commonly seen, as although the properties of scene are not always adopted, properties of the eyes vision are always not adopted the heaven, just as the heaven created God has seen begotten past the light of the parts of the spiritual objects of the lower man. Hence, then there's no need even change his name for even occur with the degree of the scene, as upon descending there, the heaven are already called the scene and light, that they have passed the man regarding the light after the heaven. As written, the Creator created the man in his own image. The Hebrew word image that used the Torah that tells him is formed by the four letters Talsium laid man. Adam 2, we said that no soul or light, no soul or Holy Spirit of the Yeshad, rather than only the soul of beyond heaven man from the lights of Nefrash, Rashad, and Nisham. So even we say that the soul is called Keter, which is implied that the count starts beyond the Keter, that the Keter of the Keter beyond of the heaven, that the soul beyond the parts of us is divided in three lines: the line of beyond, the line of heaven, and the line of man. This characteristic is the light of mercy. However, the light of wisdom transferred to the spiritual beyond divides into two spiritual realms: the sight and the Yeshah. These confirmed to be the Hetra Hokama Bina Daya, and their three heads Gravera Tefra, and along with the three Zat, or heaven and seven Sfarats of the Hesad. 2 man from the complete geometry and 1333 plus 7, each echad to lose the complete name, state, and attain. The thing is, the Sephirotic Kedar is concealed in the alphabet, archaic alphabet. Only the Sephiroth beyond sends light down. Sephiroth beyond of the archaic alphabet is divided into two parts of the seen and Yisat. Seen in Vishat as the Garden of Eden shines on the scene, unseen as is the God of heaven sees to shine. See, Vishat, two parts of beyond, and is called Mem and Lamed of the world of Tazlum. Alright, the vision called Mem of the world of Tazlum is formed from a close ring guarding the light of wisdom, preventing the reaching of the lowering parts of the spiritual world. Lower wisdom referred to the concealed from all the small spiritual worlds of Altava. Only the light of wisdom or Roka descends from them in parts of the world of Altava during the 6,000 years until the end of the correction. Yasvat is the lane for the word Talsum bows its head and resembles a tower written about the tower of strength. The Creator's name, and yet the Yusa is called the tower, known as the righteous one. After all, the Yasvat of the Yasvat divine Benia is property of God, therefore include the Ban, hence there is light of wisdom into God. However, God in small size finds that the light of mercy is Rasha, called air, Rasha called avid air. Then during the reception of the light of wisdom, or Yashat, the letter of Yad in the letter of the word Aver exists, and the Aver turns or light. Hence, the Yashat is called the tower. The parts of the bigger size contains the wisdom soaring in the air. However, the state of the God is inconsistent with the tower intermittently containing returns the small size to the big size. Therefore, there's such a state is called soaring. The heaven is called Tatzavid, into the word Tatzavim, for which the property is inside the tower. Thus, Avia Mem is Mahokama, is concealed inside a ring. Yusat Lamad is beyond from those extended Alzaba area, should become the Hokama and power passes the Okamon down. Zantias dot receives light form of Yasat. However, one should not refuse that the TZLM 3 called the heritage parts of one side and the parts of Hokama, inner parts of Ma beyond, closed that the eve of the vision downward, and the eve of Yashat downward, and Prasada been enclosed in parts of knowledge and Alright, the words the Creator created man in his own image. This means that to help the spiritual observance of the commandment of the Teflon, or light wisdom, and received in accordance with the ascending our light of the talisman, light of the datum, received his correction, whereas the first stipulates reception of the light of heaven from heaven was stipulate the reception of ourselves. The head of Teflon contains the name of the Holy King inscribed in letters. The God's name of the head of Teflon is the name of the Supernal King inside the letters of his name. Teflon are created with the Carmel, all goodness, and writing with your head upon your light is the Carmel. This is because of your head of heaven, and man put his own head on Teflon, or upper light of the Teslim, to become the Carmel, or the all goodness. This light is called the name of the supernal holy kingdom. The four letters of God's name, which are each letter written with separately. God's name, Yad Hidavah Yavahe. The reason the means of feels for the letter written separately is that each parts of it containing four letters of God's name. Each of it designates independent parts of it. Alright, each consists of separate passages of parchment. In the Teflon, four separate pages correspond to the four letters of God's name, and in passage Hebrew, Parashah represents the separate complete parts of Allah, and in corresponding with God's name symbolize the light of the parts of Allah, and the order of the parts of Allah corresponds in order to the letter of God's name, Yadu Vahihe, in such a Teflon called Teflon or Rashi. However, the Teflon in the order of the passages of parts of Yad Heva Teflon Rabinia Tam, the passages are written in fragments and parchment and are identical, but in order of putting them into boxes of Teflon Rabah Tam, and it is different with the Yad Hava Heve. Alright, the first passage of the Teflon corresponds with the letter Yah, with God's name. The first commandment, sanctifying me with all the firstborn there, because of the wisdom of the firstborn, supernal ones, to open the place of reception for the future firstborn, with the help of the inline line, emanates the S side, which opens the womb and impregnates it. As light is just the name of the letter Yad of God's name of the Yad signifies the habit of filling with the Yad according with the pronunciation. Yad plus Vav with the and Dalet, and Violet plus Dalet includes the mother and parts of Vav seen as in the holy and firstborn. from the parts of the young and the God, as are called holy only when they receive holiness with light of wisdom from the heaven, and the holiness is a word of Asva coming from the sea, from vision. This is so because the light of wisdom is holiness and the vision of Mem of the world of Tasva and Hokuman Alsva, the supernal Hokuman world of Asva, concealed within Avia, the seeing, the visions themselves beyond from the property of the wisdom, property of mercy of the wisdom concealed with the head of the Alsva. Lower ones can receive the beyond and the wisdom of the head of the Alsva, Otzva, with the beyond unite the wisdom of the head with the Roshava, Alsva. Resume with the name of the wisdom. However, she is not ordinary wisdom. She is called wisdom of 32 paths, descending on a light of wisdom, only with the wisdom bestowing with the wisdom upon all the parts of the world of Azval. This is why Zohar says that thin rays of light called path of lights open the wombs conceiving the future offspring consist of 3 parts, upper and spike. The upper spike of the letter Yod and small line above the point which are called the Rosh, designating parts of the artist of the alphabet that is concealed with a seam into the body of the Yod, which is performed parts of the division, and 3, the lower spike of the letter which designates Yisod, end of the parts of the division. Through continuous marriage of the Yisod of the father and Yisod of the father and Yisod of the mother, the greater waters descend with the lower world for the inhabitants of them. This is the wedding out of the light of mercy, called the coupling of the revived of the world. The Yisod of the mother is called the Risham of the womb. For all the Rishamian mercy stems from the part of this spiritual world. Yet, if sin does not make the marriage, the part of the mother is closed, and mercy does not descend below. Only the Yisod of the father can open the Yisod of the mother, whereupon the mother passes her great waters to the lower ones. Or the second passage of Teflon, when you come to correspond with the first letter Hey of the God's name, they call the hell. The hall beyond this opens under the influence of the Yad, Abba, the Father, 50 entrances, passages, chambers concealed in it. The revelation of Father made that in the hall was done so that her voice of a ram's horn beyond, the ram's horn beyond closed on all sides of the Father came and opened it, and so the sound could be heard as the same. It opened the ram's horn, derived sound from it, and the Father led it all to freedom. The letter A, named in God's name as is Yeshua of El, the form of the Telsvium, called the tower soaring in the air. The 50 entrances concealed with the division designated with the M of the ring of the sound. The light of wisdom prevents it from shining outside. The shine only with the light of mercy. However, by rising the head of the Otzva, Bina turns the light of wisdom, Yeshat, and passes over the light of wisdom to the God. Beyond the turns of the wisdom, in order to receive the wisdom from God, is called 50 gates of beyond, consisting of 5 separates in the 10 each. They have the 50 separates consisting of the chamber entrance of the 3 head separates called the chamber and the entrance or passage imply the absence of the soul of reception instead of servicing the transfer of the light into our chamber. Therefore, the second passage, you the Teflon, and when you come to designate the letter of God's name, Yeshua, in the world of Asphalt, which descends to the accept of the light of mercy and passing on the God below. Yod opens the hall where they hear the voices come from the ram's horn from the morning is closed on all sides. All were mentioned beyond, united with God, lower part of the 3 self-lots of God beyond, the light of God from beyond in heaven to the heaven of the Yisat remained only the 2 sephirots of him. The result of praise, man descends in the eyes of the Ayama of the Yeshua opening. The man descends to the upper place for the liberty and 3 letters of God. Unites with whom to form the name, with whom to form the greater God name, ascending beyond all these of the God. However, the God ascends to join, and who for the name of greater God is also considered closed, for it is only the light of Hokumah. Light of Hokumah cannot shame without shining God without light of mercy. Three letters God therefore defined as the horn, shofar, the God ascended beyond all the God is concealed within him. All these heavens of God are referred to as the voice. The voice sounds in the hall without the help of the Yod. Yod designates the light, bestow the light of the above, which facilitates the lower man by the eye of the shot into the place of the liberty, raising the God back into beyond. Hence the Yod opens up and half the light of the shot in order to pass through the heaven from the Safar. They extended from the horn, Miriam's horn, second L letters of God. All right, to heaven to ascend beyond along the God, receive the light of wisdom, the great of the light of the God. Heaven is called the voice, reception known as listening to the voice. However, the horn is closed on all sides. The side of the wisdom and mercy for the letters of God fall into heaven, which they remain closed and inaccessible, both the light of wisdom and light of mercy. Consequently, there are two corrections: one to elevate the unite with the beyond, enable them once more to attain the light of wisdom, to provide them with the light of mercy, it can serve the garment of the light of wisdom. Hence, the Yod or vision past the light to the Hey, Yushat, under the God of the rise of the man to the beyond, together with his heaven to receive the light of wisdom. However, the light of wisdom is concealed and closed, for it cannot shine without being clothed by the light of mercy. This means the voice has not yet emerged, for the heaven has not yet been born. After the Yods enter the world light, they are hence it turns in the air, and since the horn lets the God receive the air of the light of mercy, they can beget the voice. They can beget the voice, or the voice of the ram's horn that is being clothed in the light of mercy, and the light of wisdom can also enter the God. Enter heaven. General light of heaven receive the called voice. The voice frees all slaves that were enslaved. The egotistic desires in all worlds from the heaven shines down on the lower ones. The sons of Israel's man's spiritual aspirations, parents, life and different, defeat earthly and egotistic ones. All sounds of the ram's horn for the sound of the sons of Israel were delivered to Egypt, and so far the ram's horn blown in the future. Next time the end of the day delivering originates so far will have been which beyond. There's why the deliverance to Egypt is mentioned in part of the Torah 4. The ram's horn stands for the force of the Yod, which opens the womb and delivers the captive freedom from captives to freedom, and this is the letter of H, Hey, and the second letter of the God's name. All the lights of heaven come from the horn of God. They included the greater light of the delivers Israel. Egypt light was destined for the reveal of the future of the end of the days, complete deliverance, egoism. This is why the Tefillin contains the passage referred to the exodus of the Egypt. The light of delivering the Egypt comes from the horn, which is the Yeshat. Yeshasat, which is done by the power of the vision of the Yad Yavah, God's Yad Yavah, Yad of God's name, which opened with the womb of the God, with the free voice of heaven from the captivity. They had sufficient power to deliver the Israel from slavery only after the attainment of the light of light is not a degree of lower than God, and the female can call the voice and speech. The deliverance comes from the light of only the light of God, the holy light only with upon the ascending spiritual grade of the light of holy can be liberate himself from egoism and become free. Alright, the third passage is the Tefillin secret of unity of the here. There are the Israel letter of the vow, they have a vow which includes the destiny of the heaven, which contains the unity of all the merges in unity with him and receive them. And the fourth passage, the reed shall hear, that includes the two sides of the Hesad Gevera, which unite in the assembly of the Israel and called the Lord Gevera and man. This is the last letter of Hey in the name of the God, and this text includes all them all. Alright, the third passage of the Tefillin and the parts above heaven, the letter of the Va in the God's name, that is concluded with the four passages of the Tefillin. Although the first two passages represent the wisdom and beyond, they do not really constitute wisdom and beyond because of themselves. Rather, their part because closed the head of God, heaven, called the Eminel Tesma of heaven. Similar to the fourth passage of the man over the heaven does not imply that it is the man, woman herself. It refers to that her part was included in heaven and called the brain of the Gevera. Three parts of the brain in heaven are Hoshama, Beyond, and Dot, which are accordingly with the MLTZ, called the ML and TZ of heaven. They are the same as Those 5 lights of Sephiroth in the brain of the heaven. This becomes the in knowledge includes the Hesed and Gevera. In the Hesed in knowledge defined in the gods himself, the Gevera is defined as inclusion of the properties in the female of in heaven. Also, the 5 Sephiroths constitute the 4 passages contained in Teflon. This is why heaven and letter of the name of the God's name include all the 4 passages with all the units of light, the vision, and shot are done with. For its sake, over all the higher parts of heaven, the call of the heaven, they are united with the Creator, with no praise for the lower ones. You reach the state of the unity where there is praise raised from the lower ones, but the upper parts of them are mentally sold with the unification of heaven. No way affects the constantly unity of the higher parts with the Creator. Unification of wisdom and beyond as a result of the beyond becomes the like wisdom occurs only on the account of the heaven being raised beyond form of the praise, the form of heaven raised beyond the form of praise beyond ascend of the head of the artistic alpha. As the attic of arts received the wisdom from heaven, since beyond inspires only mercy of the light of mercy, shall never receive the light of wisdom from the Creator's sake, but only of the lower ones, if needed, the role of the properties only bestow. Never receive. Note that the spiritual reception is always the Creator's sake. Hence, beyond ascends at the head of the artistic alpha only with the sake of the heaven, as is God alone descends with the beyond and assimilates her to ascend with the head of the alpha when she makes the marriage with the wisdom as the light to him, and therefore is said that the heaven receives all beyond, passing everything that she received from the head of Artava to him, and the light of wisdom revealed only in the place of the heaven, not beyond, as it descends back to the place of Eve of heaven. The prayer of hero or Israel designates designates heaven to the name of the Hava, the supernatural unity, reveals the love of the one over the good of the inside, and the sense that refers to the love of the Creator contains no restriction of the judgment. However, the 4th passage, you shall hear the last of the hay, the name of God's name, Nivak, and the female of God, include him, the Genevera of the head of the God, reveals both sides of love and good, and as well as evil, reflected the words of the passage, end of the world, blessed be his great name forever and ever, which corresponds with the inclusion of the unity of female of the heaven, meaning that the female herself is part of the God and brain of the knowledge. The Gevera of the knowledge is second letter of God's name, and accepts the light of the supernal unity of the hero Israel, includes all, and since it contains perfection, unity reveals all the light in both sides of the love, the property of judgment, complements the love of the perfection exists only within it and not above it. If this is therefore written, your head is upon you like a Carmel, and designates the Teflon instead of the heaven, clothed with the 4 lights designated by 4 paragraphs of Teflon, which are 3 letters T, Z, L, and M. Of the word Teslam, his head is defined as a Carmel or Carmehel, completely filled with goodness. Our Teflon and our letters a holy name, therefore your head is upon you like a Carmel refers to Teflon, your letter to knowledge refers to the hand of Teflon, man who depleted the light, and compared to the head of the Teflon of God, she contains the perfection of the upper one. The hand of Teflon designates a man. She is poor in comparison with the upper world, so she has our own perfection. She knows the received from beyond, thanks to the unity between the female and God. The blessed is her greater name forever and ever. Since she is not a female that includes the God, his body, but separate the female of God of heaven, she takes the 4 passages of the 5 Sephiroths of God, heaven, for separates the complete spiritual object. However, the 4 passages of the Torah in the same place that are not separated for each part of the portion as in Teflon of the spiritual heaven. The reason for this passage of the Torah is the light and place where it dwells within the soul, and in our world with a box made up of the pure animal skin with its 4 parchment scrolls are placed in corresponding passages of the Torah was written on each as new. Now every marriage emanates light, and since the heaven received the light of the four Sephiroths and for the Kelm, as a result for the 4 marriages contains the 4 compartments, the 4 passages. Each for the compartment contains particular passages from the Torah. However, no marriage is made by woman herself. Everything the man has, she receives, and heaven man receives all four lights and four passages of all the Torah. As a result, man marriage with the heaven, hence she only has one place for all four passages of the light. The king is held captive in tubs, means the tie down held with the four compartments of the Teflon purpose of the being properly united with the holy name, and who creates the correct and existing image and likeness of the talisman of the Creator, just as the holy name is united with the Creator, holy name united in him. Male and female are created, or he created them, refers to the head and the hand of Teflon as it, and it's one. The king is held captive in tugs, signifying God, signifying heaven, who is bound and unified with the compartments of Teflon, compartments of Teflon, which contain the patch of the Torah, and are called tubs or troughs, just as the tubs in which our sheep drink water, the waters of light of wisdom and of light of mercy, are bound and restricted by the kelm. Compartments of the Teflon are then creators who bound tight and held in the kelm, as well as so unified with the holy name. These compartments of Teflon are Tavana, lower part of the Yesod, Israel Sabah, Tavana, where Israel Sabah is the male part and Tavana is the female part. The female part is called the bigger knowledge, for the Ishad of one is in verse, is hero of Israel, our creator is one. It's written about this letter and letter dry land appeared. As already mentioned in the third commandment, because of the dry land there was revealed of the heaven that he can pass the light of the man. There was not the four place for the heaven dry land from which they would been able to give the light of the female. Hence it said that God is tied down and held and do those in place. The stem of the dry land so also enables the so to unite the path of revelation, creator's light into the holy name of the female. As a result, the dry land became the fertile produce of fruits. Therefore, he can complete a correction of the four passages of the Torah requires the image or likeness of the talisman of the Creator in the other worlds, in which man, below the alphabet of the world of BIA, puts on the Teflon, attains the level of degree, receives the light of the four heads, Seraphim of heaven. The light is called Tazom, and the hosts of wisdom and beyond are called Eminel, which is the head of the Gavera, is called Tizi. Just as the greater God is the beyond unity of the holy name of the man, therefore uniting the holy name with the man, for the part of the man is part of the mission, part of man. Two parts, male and female, in the light of the wisdom and beyond, or tells about of heaven, and tells about the female and head of the Teflon that are held in Teflon. However, this is said of the creator of the man and woman, referring to the head of Teflon and the hand of Teflon. Or the 11th commandment.